And we're live. Welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion. Before we get started, let me remind you that we are covered by the BIPCOT No Government License, which allows for the reuse, modification, and distribution of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for bludgies and the governments and NSA guy, and you go fuck yourself. Speak a little more about that at
Well, wait.
BIPCOT.org.
Yeah, NSA guy's still working despite the shutdown.
Oh, of course,
yeah.
because
Well, yeah.
he's a essential government employee.
It's essential to
I
keep
shed a
us
tear
safe.
for him this morning thinking he was gone.
Yeah.
Oh,
Unlike
no.
our
Thank
favorite Fed
you.
sitting over there on the couch, who is not a essential government employee.
Yeah.
What's up,
I have
Captain
to-
Furlough? How you doing tonight?
Captain Furlough. Yeah, I'm doing all right. I have to drive to work in the morning to get officially furloughed. So I'm
That's
still
fantastic.
Nice.
An hour
so-
and a half there, like 15 minutes worth of fucking bullshit, and then an hour and a half home. Yeah.
So they're gonna make you sit in traffic for an hour and a half to get to work.
good. Yeah.
Spend 15 minutes at work.
Yep.
An hour and a half worth of traffic back
Yep.
because you're now unemployed.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, that is fantastic.
Yeah. It's basically
Gotta love
we're
'em.
not gonna pay you right now, but go ahead and run a full tank of gas out of your car.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Seriously.
Yep.
Couldn't they just do it online?
You would think.
Send him a text.
or
Send him a text.
just be like, hey guys, don't come to work today. We're closed.
Right.
Yeah, right. Some
The
shit,
government.
dude.
Here's an official government email.
I'm waiting for the order to come in and work without pay.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
they can do that too. They can say, well, we're not
Really?
gonna pay you, but you still have to come to
Yeah,
work.
they can. And if I refuse,
wow.
then I get fired.
Yeah.
Like for
Oh,
real.
that sucks.
Wow.
Yeah, which is pretty much
That's
the only
fantastic.
way they can fire you, like instantaneously, because it's such a fucking process for the federal government to fire anyone. But
Unless you
that's
don't show up for work with no pay.
exactly.
Oh, yo. Nailed it.
Thanks,
yeah.
government.
It's
Thanks.
insubordination and absent without leave and all these things. So
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
Oh, shit.
Well, you guys heard what the big complaint coming from the senators and stuff are, right? About this
The what?
The big complaint coming from the senators about the big shutdown.
No. Well, I mean,
It's
I've
the
been hearing stuff here and there, but what are you
Oh,
speaking
no.
of
The
specific?
big complaint is the lack of towels in the congressional gym because of the shutdown.
Oh,
You gotta be
Seriously?
fucking kidding me, dude.
the
No.
tragedy.
Oh,
No.
God.
That was
My heart is breaking for those guys.
Robert Costa, who covers the Congress for the Washington Post, threw up a tweet today saying, quote, members are complaining to me that the House gym lacks enough towels this morning, and they wonder if it's because of the shutdown.
huh?
How about you fucking
They can
find
go
your
fuck
own,
themselves.
Yeah,
assholes?
exactly.
Jesus
Yep.
Christ.
There's not enough towels, guys. We got to
And
end
what-
the
I'm
shutdown
surprised that-
because there's not enough
Kevin-
towels in the gym.
And which
They have
They have
senators
to
are working out?
share towels.
Yeah, Kevin works
I
out at
haven't-
work and he takes a bag with him every day with his fucking towel in it, and his gym clothes and shit. Take your
Right.
own fucking towel. It's not, rocket surgery. But I don't know what we expect from these dumbasses.
It doesn't take a rocket appliance.
Right.
I'm just waiting for him to start like confiscating towels from the fucking peasantry.
Yeah. Well,
my
technically, those are
favorite-
the people's towels.
for the furlough effort.
Oh, my favorite. My favorite will be when they start putting up temporary fencing around the war memorials and stuff, and stop allowing people, because we don't have enough. We don't have enough money to staff the park, right? But we have enough money to rent fencing, rent security.
No, they
To
don't
keep
even
you guys
rent
out
security. Like the last time they did that, like at the Vietnam War Memorial, they use National Park Service employees.
Right.
Yeah, no, they're keeping all that stuff open from what I read. They're not gonna. They said they weren't gonna do the same thing as they did the last time and weaponize the shutdown like Obama did.
Right. So essentially what they're doing is they're not hurting the American people. They're still fucking taxing you. They're not hurting each other. They're not shutting down anything people actually want to go see, like monuments. They're not shutting down anything people need to use. What they're doing is they're just not fucking paying their own goddamn employees. That's it.
That's
That's all
pretty
the
much.
fucking shutdown
but
is.
because of the
Well, they
shutdown,
said non-essential employees.
Yeah.
we got to be really careful because now we're in danger of getting hit by fucking asteroids.
Meteors.
Yes,
Well, absolutely. I'm just
and
waiting
it's
for
terrible.
the
Like
fucking.
I don't get it. Like I'm so upset. How are the giant jet engines on the side of the Earth that move the Earth out of the way of the meteors not part of an essential government program?
Right.
Nah, we're cool, man. They made a movie about this shit. We just got to get Bruce Willis and Will Smith, right?
It's Ben Affleck and Bruce.
Oh, Ben
Willis.
Affleck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben
Same-
Affleck,
same
Will
thing.
Smith, whatever.
They all look alike.
I can't fucking believe CNN is taken seriously at all. I mean, it's just fucking,
Yeah, CNN's one of those ones you laugh at.
to steal a word from Spaceballs, we'll just fucking say ludicrous.
Right.
Ludicrous speed.
Like anybody that still watches the mainstream media, other than this, like watch it for what agenda they're pushing at that point in time, is a fucking retard.
I know.
Straight up.
I know.
Like if you're buying that corporate
Well, you
line
guys
from
saw
the
my
talking heads.
post where I was sitting at the
Like-
dealership getting a tire replaced on my car, and they had fucking MSNBC running in there the whole fucking
Oh,
time I
Christ.
was sitting there. Tell me about it. I was just like,
MSLSD.
That shit, I wish, dude. That shit is like lefty heaven.
that's the only way you could tolerate it. You know?
I know, dude. That shit would be a nightmare on LSD.
That would be a bad trip.
That
That would be
would
That
be-
would be a
CNN?
bad trip.
You're
I'd feel
right.
like a
Stop
complete
kicking the train
racist
back.
after watching it, like dripping in white guilt and shit.
You're gonna
Well, I'm
end
over
up
here
like,
exerting my privilege,
you're
so
gonna end up
you
like
know.
do you remember Bernie Mac's character in Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the head?
Jesus.
You remember? I hate my gums because they black.
yeah. I haven't seen that movie in so long, dude. That was classic, though.
The cop that was like fucking ashamed of his skin color
Yeah.
and hated
Yep.
everything.
I saw some fucking
The Wayans
assholes-
brothers are great.
Yeah.
some assholes in some of these feminist marches that I think that happened today
Oh,
or
God.
yesterday. They were
Yeah.
women carrying signs that said "fuck white feminism." So
Yeah. I saw that.
now even white women now, you know, they're
Oh, it
fucking
goes-
they're disinvited from like fucking women marches.
Oh,
Because they're white.
it goes even beyond
Let
that.
me go
It goes
fucking
beyond-
cry
They're
in my
saying
pillow.
they're saying that gay white males are not oppressed enough to be represented by the LGBT community.
I love when these fuckers eat each other, dude. Oh, lefty cannibalism is like my favorite, dude. All time, hands
But I
down.
don't think they even realize it. That's
They don't. It's like a downward fucking spiral that just like never ends until they're just all fucking kill each other.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Like
I'll just
most-
sit back and watch it with popcorn.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. That's really what it is.
Just like
When
most
you-
other mental illness, if it goes untreated, it fucking spirals out of control.
Yeah.
No, this is
We're just
worse than
taking
spiraling out of
action.
control. Like a mental illness, you can't help,
Right.
right? These SJWs, right? It's like a race. It's like a race to be not like a racial thing, like a foot race to be the most oppressed person. Like they keep
Oh, yeah.
making shit
I
up
don't know if they
to
can
make
help it, though.
themselves sound more oppressed.
What
I
are they?
think
Would
they've
those
been
be white
mentally
feet,
disabled.
Jason?
They're like
No.
2% of the population, right?
Yeah.
But they think that everybody thinks the same fucking way as they do.
I know. But I really think that some of them can't fucking help it. They have been mentally disabled by the university system.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I
Yeah,
mean,
like,
like,
they have
at what
no
point do
ability
you
to
like
fucking
think to
for
yourself, like,
themselves.
okay, I got to be mentally stronger than this and not feed into
Right?
the indoctrination?
No shit. But they don't want to be strong because then they can't be a victim.
This is true.
See,
That
You can't
is
be a
true.
victim if you're strong.
That's
Fuck.
and I love this because my kids are starting college in the fall. They turn 18 in a couple of weeks. So we start college in the fall, and they were touring the local community college up there in Northern California, and there is a designated safe space. My
Mhm.
kids took pictures and sent them to me laughing that there was like they're talking about going and protesting the safe space.
Nice.
Protesting a safe space for what?
Protesting a safe space just to do it to piss
Should I
them off.
listen? Oh, nice.
Yeah, just to troll them. That's exactly what it was. They were going to protest
Speaking
the
of
safe
which-
space on the premise that it was a safe space,
Nice.
just to protest, just to
They
troll them.
probably
Speaking of-
should demand an environmental impact study on it.
Their carbon footprint is too big. They must disperse. No more safe space for you.
Why don't we have privilege impact surveys yet? We need privilege impact surveys.
Oh, totally.
Oh, don't do that. Because then you'll have scientific data to fucking back up the fact that white privilege exists.
I shouldn't have even said that out loud. I shouldn't have even spoken that into the universe. My bad.
Don't give these fuckers any ideas.
Oh god.
But seriously, like, my neighbor, she's like a total hardcore like Bernie supporter, and she's like, "Oh yeah, this guy Jeff Beals is coming to the local brewery." She's like, and he's like running for Congress, whatever Congress seat in New York, whatever. So she's like, "Yeah, you should come and speak to him, or come to see him speak or whatever." And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I looked the guy up, and he's like total like progressive. So I'm like, you know what? I think I might go and ask him hard-hitting questions and really question what the fuck he believes. So I might just actually go.
You're gonna get in trouble.
Look,
oh no, I'm not gonna be a dick. Like, I'm gonna ask him like legit. Like,
you don't have to be a dick. They'll still fucking throw you out. They'll call bludgeons.
Oh, I know. I'll be like, is taxation theft? And if it isn't, how is it not?
Right.
because my roads and my gym towels, Dan. Because my gym towels.
Yeah, well,
it's not.
It's a bludgy.
Cops.
He's gonna tax the poor into prosperity.
Yeah, cops and anybody who enforces government laws and shit. That's bludgies.
Yeah, there's an actual definition of it.
Yeah.
Well, to bludgeon someone, so that's where it's taken from. I would imagine
those who bludgeon others in the name of purported authority.
I thought that was.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need a badge to do that, because I know statists that do that mentally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have a picture of a toilet in your phone?
Oh no, that's of Trump.
Oh, okay. Oh, you have. You saved.
Oh, well played, you two. Well played.
Gotcha. That's a good one. This one, did you guys see that?
Oh, yeah.
It's Donald Trump.
It's Donald Dump.
Oh, Donald Dump, yeah.
That's awesome.
Man, my favorite shithole.
No, I was bringing up a Thomas Sowell quote.
Every time he opens his shithole, something stupid comes out.
Thomas Sowell had
Quit throwing some Tide Pods.
People don't usually grow up when there are other people who make excuses for their immaturity.
Well, that's what SJWs are and do, and that's pretty much
I know
the entire.
Yeah.
Thomas Sowell does a excellent fucking. There's so many interviews with that guy that he just nails everything on the fucking head. Like, there's one where he does an interview and he discusses like victimhood mentality and how it's like essentially, reinforced because like they want these people to, cry about their oppression essentially because it, helps the socialist or, communist cause or whatever. Because that's like, pretty much how the cultural Marxists spun it. Like, instead of being economically oppressed by the bourgeoisie, they spun it as, the oppressor versus the oppressed culturally.
Right.
So, what he was saying is that like the SJW people, like he's like, it's like it's messed up that like they'll do they'll enforce liberal policies like lowering the standards for people that are from like low economic backgrounds or whatever, or people like black people from in inner cities or whatever, you know what I mean? So like to kind of like get more people out of that area in terms like of grades or whatever. But he's like, it doesn't help them, because if you don't have the same standards for everybody and apply them across the board, even if it's harder for the people in the economic areas, they're not going to be able to get out of those economic situations. He's like, I grew up in Harlem. He's like, and if my teacher wasn't hard on me and made me spell my word, every time I got a word wrong, I had to spell it 50 times. He's like, that wouldn't have reinforced my like ability to, try not to get the word wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's like, so the fact that she was hard on me, she was like,
any of those sorts of programs have pretty much been debunked as being counter or actually harmful to the people.
Oh, absolutely. He was like,
allegedly aimed to help.
Right.
Yeah. He even argued that liberal policies have done worse things for black people than slavery. I don't know if I'd argue that, but
well,
it's a different kind of
you know what I mean?
slavery.
It hasn't exactly improved their economic
but who's going to pick the cotton?
Right. It's still slavery, though. It's just a different kind of slavery. And
it really is, because what they do is they, and I'm not saying all black people, because that's just painting things with a broad brush. I'm talking about like people in socioeconomic, substrata.
Areas.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like in the inner city black areas, they keep those areas deliberately impoverished and undereducated so that they have a dependency class to vote for the fucking, a certain voting block.
And the overwhelming majority of those areas have been represented by big state Democrats forever.
Yep.
Forever.
Yep. Like
I'm
Detroit,
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that both sides have their own class of morons.
Yes.
Oh, they absolutely do.
Because I mean, like, take for example, the area where you guys got your dogs.
Mm-hmm.
I've
the Ozarks,
extensively through that part of the country. Those people, are read to death,
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the same as the inner cities or whatever. It's just a different group of people with a different puppet master pulling the strings,
Yeah, absolutely.
Who one side gets the Hicks from the Ozarks worried about all of the
minorities,
the
or the quote unquote welfare recipients in the cities.
Right.
Whereas, you look at rural areas, and that, by like per capita, the percentage of people who receive assistance in rural areas is way higher than people in inner cities.
Well, there's farm subsidies and shit like that. Yeah.
Well, no, I didn't even mean like that. I meant like
just
social
welfare.
Safety net type of stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
But when you figure in the farmer welfare, Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you got to figure a lot. I mean, trailer parks are like the white ghettos.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
So it's like, I mean, minus the drive-bys and shit.
Right.
But
well, sometimes minus
they have those there too.
Yeah, they have those.
For real, I've never heard of a trailer park drive-by.
Yeah.
That's going to be the name of my new band.
Trailer park drive-bys.
God, I hope it's a punk band.
What else could it be with a name like that?
No, but it's true. They pit different classes of poor people against each other and use them as a boogeyman.
Yeah. Well, first they have to keep them ignorant so that they're
exactly.
To manipulation.
Yeah. Well, that and fearful people are easy to control.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. If you
I made that argument to somebody the other day.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we didn't get to see it because somebody's not on Facebook anymore.
Right. I'm on Twitter, yo.
Jesus Christ, he's all over Twitter.
I am.
I'm never on there. I should get on there now.
Yeah, I'm never on Twitter. No.
I'm working on a hat trick, dude. I'm trying to get banned from Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. My Twitter account got locked earlier today.
What do you have to do to get banned from Instagram? I said, what do you have to do to get banned from Instagram? How? Yeah.
I don't know. I'm working on it.
Yeah, I don't know how to get banned on Instagram.
More news.
I'm not sure there's anybody fucking watching what anyone puts up on Instagram. Is there?
I don't know. It's run by Facebook.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they bought it up. Yeah.
It is. That's why you can connect it.
Oh.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that all my accounts on Facebook are disabled, but somehow it's still connected to my old Facebook account that's disabled.
Huh.
Nice. So they won't re-enable any of your accounts? Or have you just not bothered?
Wait, what happened?
On Facebook.
I said, are you permanently banned, or did you just not bother jumping through the hoops?
I'm totally banned. Like, I bought a new phone. I tried from a different fucking IP address, like the whole nine.
Jesus.
Oh, wow.
They really got your number.
Yeah, dude. I was like, how the fuck do they even know it's me?
Right.
That is insane.
Yeah. Yeah. I must have done something they didn't like.
I never understood why you kept getting banned. Oh, no, it was the Jew jokes, right? That's why you kept getting bans.
Well, yeah, that tends to press the button.
Yes, it does.
the myth of consensual memes. There's someone you forgot to ask.
Tagging people in memes without asking is rape.
Oh my god.
Sometimes. I mean,
I shouldn't give these SJWs any more ideas.
No.
It's not quite as rapey as adding people to groups without their permission.
Oh my god, I hate that. I fucking hate that.
Or waving at them in chat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There you go. The myth of the consensual meme.
Oh my gosh. That's so great.
I didn't approve of that.
Not so fast.
I've missed so much. I haven't been on Facebook much either.
Yeah, I haven't been
on every couple of days, and
it's done wonders for my mental health since I've been banned.
I bet.
Yeah.
And
but then again, I'm debating commies again on Twitter now. So.
Right.
Oh, the whole Twitter sphere is crazy too. I can't even. I tried for a while
it's insanity.
back when our
he's all
like melted down.
Yeah, I'm pretty active on Twitter also, and Dan's all over it. Like, he's mixing it up with Ben Stone and Mance Ryder, and tweeting at Lou Rockwell and Adam Kokesh. Like, he's mixed up with Adam Kokesh supporters. That was fun.
Oh, I bet that was good.
Dude, fucking, I posted this thing by Douglas Adams about how it said that, like, anybody that seeks the presidency should be essentially like not able to gain the position. And somebody tagged Adam Kokesh in it, and I was like, well, it wasn't aimed at Adam. I was like, but if the shoe fits.
Right.
Yeah.
Wasn't there like a Neil deGrasse Tyson quote about maybe the...
Oh, yeah, he was like saying something about like this is pretty much the same thing.
Right.
And like somebody was like, well, follow that out to its logical conclusion. Hello.
Yeah. Yep.
Anybody that seeks power shouldn't be able to have it.
Right. This guy that everybody thinks is so smart saying, what if, like, it just fucking occurred to him, dude, we could have told you that. Those who seek power
and we're not
are the least
astrophysicists
qualified
either.
to hold it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. As I said, like, if we absolutely had to have a president, right? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We absolutely had to have a president. I want the person in office to have to be dragged in there, kicking, screaming, fighting, biting, scratching, resisting getting in there. That's the person I want to be president. The person that wants to do it the least.
Yeah.
Right.
You draft the motherfucker and say, hey, if you do a good job, you're out of here in 4 years. If you're not, then you get 8 years. Like a prison sentence or some shit, you know what I mean? Give him an incentive to get the fuck out of there as fast as possible.
Right. And if you really
If you do a really good
you're
job,
here
we'll
for
get you out of
life.
there in 2. On good behavior.
Dan goes 3 weeks and gets impeached.
Yeah, right. I wouldn't even last a week. I'd bomb Israel and then fucking it'd be all over with.
Yep. I'm
Oh,
telling
that's
you,
horrible. I can't say that.
The greatest president we've ever had is William Harrison, and it's because he was only in there for like 13 days and died of the flu.
No.
There you go.
Declan, go.
No.
I remember Calvin Coolidge saying something about like the greatest thing about his presidency was that he like pretty much didn't do anything.
Nice.
And I was like, that's cool with me. You know what I mean?
You need to.
That would be my goal. I'd be like, look, I'm gonna collect this cool $400,000 a year, get free healthcare for the rest of my life, and basically I'm gonna fly around on Air Force One getting blunted.
Right?
Mile High Club Monday.
That's right.
Bill Clinton got head in the Oval Office.
Air Force One.
Yeah, Bill Clinton got head in the Oval Office. Hold my beer. Watch this.
Yeah, you ain't seen shit, buddy.
For sure.
Oh shit.
Make me president. The only thing I'd ever do is veto the fuck out of everything that came across my desk.
Oh, I want to bring this up really quick to you guys. I saw this fucking video. It was stating that people, victims of Hurricane Harvey, they had to fill out an application or a contract or some shit saying that if they boycotted Israel as an individual or as a company, that they weren't granted like relief funds or whatever.
What the fuck?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was a FEMA subcontractor thing.
Oh,
that's crazy,
yeah,
dude.
They couldn't get the contract.
Yeah, they couldn't.
When you got another country dictating your laws.
I think we lost Dan.
Still there?
Yeah. Dan?
Yeah.
Did he get drone bombed?
Well, he went all choppy there for a second.
Yeah.
And my fucking reception probably cut out.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got my kitty cat running out.
Yeah,
Heisenberg.
I could hear
Heisenberg.
Heisenberg in the background.
Yeah, I heard him on earlier.
Yeah.
He's always a dick when I'm doing the podcast.
I followed.
Well, yeah, because you're not giving him your full attention.
I follow
Exactly.
Heisenberg on
Like, what are you doing on your
Instagram.
phone?
Yeah, me too.
Oh,
Now you gotta
make get Instagram.
You gotta make an Instagram for the dogs now, Jericho.
I do. Yeah, I know. I was thinking that I need to.
He's the coolest cat on Instagram.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. The podcast is 1 year old, guy.
Yay!
Oh yeah. Yay.
Happy birthday
It's like an
to
anniversary.
us. Happy birthday to us. Sorry.
Go ahead, finish singing.
No. I'll only do it if everybody else is also talking and nobody can really hear me.
We heard you anyway.
But you have such a beautiful singing voice.
Oh, no, I don't.
Bring up that
Dylan.
audio level. Bring up that audio level.
Dylan, if you're still watching, tell us you heard her. No. Dylan didn't comment yet, but I'm sure he heard
Yeah.
you.
He's too
Dylan will
busy
have-
sucking down that Flint
Dylan
water.
will have something really
Wait for
nice
it.
to say, I'm sure.
Fuck
Oh,
you.
God. I sure hope he doesn't.
Dylan never has anything nice to say to me.
Does Dylan
Dylan
have
never
anything
has
nice to
anything
say
nice
to
to say.
anybody?
Never.
He's like the shithead little brother that nobody ever wanted. I love that prick though.
Yeah, like the last couple messages in the group chat is like complaining about Joe Book, and then Troy Aikman, and then about YouTube giving him about you two notifying him that the show had started like 27 minutes before it started.
Right.
So,
wait, what
First
about Troy
world
Aikman
problems.
though? Like, what did that? That was like so random.
he was watching football. Troy Aikman was announcing the Jaguar Seahawks
like
game.
Troy Aikman retired years ago.
Oh no, he was the Vikings game. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just a terrible announcer. He was complaining about that, and I agreed with him.
Well, I mean, the dude's had like how many fucking concussions over his career?
I think it's like 8 that are on paper.
Jeez.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So yeah,
That's like
podcast.
Mike Tyson.
I'm not the same dude as I was when I bit that dude's ear off.
Right.
You apologize for that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Oh, dude, I love Iron.
That makes it okay.
Yeah, that makes it all better.
I mean, you can say what you will about Muhammad Ali or Foreman or even Manny Pacquiao or Freddie Roach. Dude, Mike Tyson is the shit when it comes to boxing.
Dude, I remember a couple of fights that I watched.
That jumping inside left hook.
Yeah.
That was killer.
Motherfuckers would pay like $45 for like whatever, $50 for pay-per-view event, and the show would last like 43 seconds.
and they won't complain about the price either. And they wouldn't complain about the price.
They'd be like, yo, that motherfucker got knocked out. Oh, Mike was brutal.
Hell, I don't know. One of his best quotes was what's that?
Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I was trying to hear what Dan said, but yeah, dude, and like the quotable Mike Tyson is amazing. Dude just had some of the best sound bites ever. Like, not being the same dude he was.
I'm impenetrable. I'm impregnable. Yeah, I'll eat his children. That shit was the best, dude. Resort to like threats of cannibalism. And the funny thing is, the dude graduated from the same high school I did. No wonder I'm fucking crazy.
Did he really?
Yeah. Catskill High School. Man.
That explains a lot.
Oh yeah.
So do we have any like actual stories to talk about?
Well, no, I got one, and I really wanted to. I'm really glad Kevin's here because I want to see his face when I read it.
There we go.
Hilary Clinton could still become president, Harvard professor says.
And if that happens, I pray for North Korea to hit us with a fucking nuke or like an EMP or something.
Why? Hillary Clinton would be like us getting hit with a nuke.
Harvard Law School professor Lawrence Lissing said there's still a scenario in which Hillary Clinton becomes president.
She should just go the fuck away. Just go away.
What scenario is
She
that?
should slither back under the fucking rock she came from.
A candidate for the Democratic presidential
nomination.
Yeah. A candidate for the Democratic presidential nomination himself, Mr. Lissing, Lessig, envisioned a scenario in which President Trump resigns or is impeached. Vice President Mike Pence resigns or is impeached, and House Speaker Paul D. Ryan, who would be next in line, nominates Mrs. Clinton to be his vice president and then steps aside to let her have the job.
Jesus.
That's a lot of steps.
Sounds legit.
Yes, it is.
So how do they make this possible?
This person really needs to learn how to let go.
This
is unhealthy.
Yeah, dude. There's actually a website.
Probably do.
Yeah.
He's a
probably
asshole.
If the president, Kevin.
What's that?
Who'd you say, Kevin?
I said that's something Paul Ryan would probably do.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he's a turd.
If the other two things happen.
Yeah.
Right.
If the president and vice president are impeached for colluding with the Russians to win the White House.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
The collusion, that whole collusion thing just got blown out of the fucking water.
The professor said Mrs. Clinton is the rightful heir
from the
to
get-go.
the throne.
Jesus.
Here's my thing with all that,
Except
and I don't care
Mrs.
which
Clinton
side you're
has
on.
been colluding with Russians. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, what about Uranium 1? That wasn't collusion, right?
Right. That was my point.
Both sides do enough shit that the other side doesn't have to make things up.
No.
Yes.
You know, it's like this. It just blows your credibility out of the water when you're grasping for straws like that.
Right.
Yeah, right.
But this whole collusion thing is made up. I mean,
it is.
Absolutely.
I don't know all the intricate details of it, but basically, the fucking Hillary campaign had fucking paid for this dossier that was fucking created by this ex-British spy named
Peter Steele.
Was it Pete Steele?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't he a porn star?
And then gave
Peter
it to
North.
the
No, he was the
FBI.
singer of Typo Negative.
Or somebody Steele, Mike Steele, or
No, his name was Peter Steele, but it's the same. It's the same name as the singer from Typo Negative.
But they gave the fucking dossier to the FBI, who went to the FISA court with this made up fucking shit and had the FISA fucking warrants issued based on that fake shit that the Hillary Clinton fucking campaign paid for.
Yeah, but
now the FBI's in big fucking trouble over it. And Congress,
totally.
Congress
and the whole
seeking
Obama
information
administration
from
should probably go to jail for it. For
Congress
fucking,
is using their oversight role to request the documents from the FBI. Now, if you saw the latest, the FBI fucking accidentally lost all these fucking messages that were requested
between
by
Obama
Congress
and Strzok.
Between the fucking times when all this bullshit was going on, the FBI accidentally lost that portion of the fucking messages.
Well, maybe they were using Hillary Clinton's private server.
Right.
Well, see, what I think was happening with that whole thing with her email server was that she left it open intentionally and then had the Clinton Foundation as the front group to launder the money so she could take money from foreign governments, and then they would pay the Clinton Foundation for access to the classified documents that were on that server that she left wide open.
Right.
Because that's like really the only setup that makes sense. And then they would launder the money through the Clinton Foundation.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Is
Follow
that
the money.
when when all of this shit blew up in the FBI's face, and now Congress is fucking questioning this whole thing? Oh, government shutdown.
How convenient.
Conveniently.
Right.
Well, see, the whole thing is that, like, it's fucked up because in the government, there's, like, there's black hats and there's white hats. There's people in there that are trying to do the right thing for the country, essentially. And there's people in there that are fucking working for their own agenda that, don't have the country's interest at heart whatsoever.
Right.
You know what I mean? People can argue, the government obviously doesn't, as a whole, doesn't have the people's interests at heart because the deep state runs the fucking government.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that the black hats are usually at the highest positions within those government agencies and bureaucracies, and that's the issue.
Yeah.
And that was proven, with Andrew McCabe being in on it and his wife getting a fucking campaign contribution through one of Hillary Clinton's friends. And then all of a sudden they fucking, change the ruling on her email server thing about how it went from gross negligence to whatever incompetence or whatever the fuck so that she can get charged under Title 18. And, there's just so much fucking collusion within the FBI and the Obama administration, Hillary Clinton, the whole fucking thing. And then them, the whole thing about the cash for clunkers thing about how they were selling those, how people were trading their cars in for new cars or whatever. They were taking those used cars, selling them into West Africa, taking the money from that. And what were they doing? They were doing some kind of, like, the Obama administration was doing like a drug running thing with that money through. They were like paying Hezbollah.
Nice.
Yeah. And you know, we've all heard
this saying, so that's like another thing.
Yeah, we've all heard the saying that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. But I don't.
Well, there's
I feel like it's the other way around. I feel like corruption seeks power.
Yeah, corrupt people seek power. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And they don't care who they have to step on to get there. So they will rise to the highest of heights because they're the ones who aren't afraid to do what it takes to achieve those positions.
Well, somebody that has morals and like, you know, cares about other people isn't going to be like, oh, I want to rule over you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just not how it works. They're just like, leave me alone. Let me live my life. You know, whatever. If you want to work together, we can do that. But I don't want to rule over you.
Right. Like us.
Yeah. So
yeah, exactly.
back,
and I think that a lot of people are getting tired of that. Like, they're getting tired of being ruled over. They'd rather work with other people, like, non-coercively. And I've been trying to, like, you know, put that message out there to people, you know, whatever it is, like, you know, whether it's like just dropping messages on Twitter on people's fucking posts that I don't even know who the fuck they are, or whatever, you know what I mean? Just getting people thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they can't bust out of the whole who will build the roads. And
right.
I had that question this evening, actually, because I have a pinned tweet on my thing, like right at the top about, like, you know, I was like, is it, if it's civilized, if taxation is a part of civilized society, is it also civilized to have armed agents of the state come and cage and kill you for not paying said taxes? Wouldn't it be more, you know, whatever, civilized, moral to have people, civilized to have people, like, you know, pay for the things that they want, essentially? And some lady, like, you know, chimes in, it's like not even like, I've never even interacted with her before, and she's like, you know, that sounds more civilized, but, you know, could you as complicated as we have now, like, who would pay for the roads and this, that, and the other thing? I'm like, don't you think that people would, like, voluntarily want to pay for the things that they want?
Right. Doesn't everybody value the roads? I value roads. Do you guys value roads?
Like if they, like, think about this, right? I'm like, if you get all your money before taxes,
right?
Yeah, like if you get all your money before taxes, right? And they tax us collectively at, like, you know, $7 trillion a year, right, through the IRS. With $7 trillion a year collectively, I'm pretty sure through the free market we could fucking make this place like a space age fucking wonderland.
Hell yeah!
Right?
Hell yeah!
Eliminate all that.
You think about it, it's
red tape and all that other bullshit.
Where we're going,
and the free market provides at a coercion free at a lower cost and more efficiently.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
That's right.
Exactly. We would have had flying cars by now. I'm fucking convinced of it if it wasn't for government holding shit back.
I want my Rosie robot, damn it.
Right? Seriously, no. I want my fucking Rosie robot.
Get a Roomba.
As long as she puts out.
We can get you one of those robots too.
Hey, sex robots are on the rise. That's what they keep saying.
They have sex.
I'm sorry, but I couldn't fuck a robot, dude.
They have robot dancers this year.
Dan, you don't have a pocket pussy. It's the same damn thing.
Yeah.
I don't. I'd rather have the real thing, man.
It's no different than a
bring out
pussy.
The fleshlight.
Oh, Dan's got a pocket pussy every time he puts his hands in his pocket.
It's just a fleshlight with extra decoration on the outside.
Right.
It's just that it can be hacked and, you know, programmed to strangle you.
Rip your dick off.
Some people like that.
Some people do like that. I'm not going to name names.
I'd have to say that'd be a pretty goddamn good way to go.
Not this guy. Not this guy.
Mark could be all tied up and put away wet.
Call me when they have a male version. All right.
They do have
male sex robots. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah, this is. Never
mind. Okay, back to the article. He says, "Quote: If Ryan becomes president because the Trump-Pence campaign committed treason, who should he nominate as vice president?
I
Mr.
totally
Reminiscing
forgot what we were talking about.
Oh, the Russian
We got all the way to sex robots.
Well, the Russian collusion, but Hillary possibly becoming president.
Yeah,
might
Hillary
be, like,
becomes
insane circumstances.
All right.
Yeah, because of the Russian collusion.
Because of the fake Russian collusion, yeah.
Yeah.
And they'll never admit it's fake because that's what they want.
Yeah.
So, quote, the answer seems unavoidable. He should nominate the person defeated by the treason of his own party and then step aside and let her become the president.
God. She wasn't defeated by Trump. She was defeated by her goddamn self.
No, I argue that she was not defeated at all. I argue that Trump was selected and not elected because with Hillary, nothing would have changed.
I don't.
Okay. But with Trump in office, you have people arguing for walls, arguing for increased military spending, arguing for increased NSA, TSA, DHS control, arguing for greater law enforcement and militarization of police. With Hillary Clinton in office, none of those things would have happened.
That's not true. That's not true at all. Hillary Clinton is a fucking war hawk.
Yes, she no. She is a war hawk. Absolutely, she is a war hawk. But you would not have people campaigning and running and begging for those things.
Right. And this is why they have to toggle back and forth between left boot, right boot, because they can't grow all the government with one candidate. They can grow. They can grow. You know, the military and
some aspects with
some aspects with one
and some aspects with the right.
So they toggle back and forth, and they kind of grow government. You know, in like it's like a game of leapfrog.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But at the same time,
America always says is kabuki theater.
Right.
Yeah, right. The one thing that makes me question it big time is that Trump's immigration policy is the complete antithesis of the New World Order's fucking open borders policy.
Right.
Well, I don't think Trump's out of line
because they essentially want to mix all of humanity together because under the Kalergi plan was to mix all races together, like so that there was just one race and there isn't any distinctive difference between race. Because there's no distinctive difference between culture and everybody's history is erased. So
there was supposed to be a fence. There was supposed to be a fence put up after Reagan did amnesty back in the fucking 80s, and the Democrats, as soon as they got what they wanted, they fucking wouldn't vote to fund it. So now that people are so upset that Trump is coming up with this fucking wall business, it's just an extension. He's basically just telling them to pay for what they fucking said they were going to pay for back in the 80s. That's all.
Oh, yeah. Bill Clinton argued for a wall.
It's Bill wanted a wall also, yeah. Like 94, Bill wanted a wall. It's also.
But the whole thing is that the wall is just like kind of a gimmick.
Yeah, it's an appeasement.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, he's actually deporting people, which is like kind of the antithesis of what the New World Order wants. Like if you look at Europe, what they've done to that in terms of immigration, like that's what they want to do to the rest of the Western, civilization.
Europe is quickly becoming a shithole.
Obama deported over 2.4 million people in his final year in office.
Nobody hears about that.
But
he was just falling in line.
Clinton deported 1 million.
But how many people did he allow in and allow to be bussed all over the country?
Yeah,
that's
a lot. Same as now. There's still people coming in every day being bussed all over the place. All amnesty seekers. "Quote unquote" amnesty seekers.
Yeah.
Good.
That's an issue because that's my whole fucking thing is because it's like I don't know if this whole like mass immigration thing would even be an issue without government because it's like they fucking kind of help institute it. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely not be an issue.
They facilitate it.
Well, and especially if like globally governments, like in the future, there were no governments anymore and it was a global thing, there would not be any kind of mass immigration because it only happens when governments make life unfucking bearable in one part of the world. You know what I mean?
And there's opportunity.
Well, not only that, but we also draw the best and brightest from the rest of the world. So it's like, what happens when we draw the best and brightest from those countries, and there's no best and brightest
Nothing
left
ever
to
gets better
uplift
in
those
those
countries? Exactly, that's what I
Right.
mean.
And I said that for a long time. There's so many. Let's talk about people from Mexico, because that's, the Mexico and U.S. border that we're talking about here. There are so many people here in the U.S. from Mexico. There are enough that if they did all go back and fucking work to change Mexico, it would be a totally new place within
That's what
a
I'm
month
saying.
or two. Yeah.
And it's
But-
weird because it's like we draw the
It's-
best and brightest, but yet we haven't made America any better because of it. Like, it's
No,
kind of strange. Like, it's kind of
weird.
gone downhill because of, political policies.
Yeah, it's
It's
bullshit.
identity
I have yet to
politics.
see a taco truck on every corner.
Right.
It's not just Hispanic people, though. And it's
That
not
would make
just
No, it
America
isn't.
great again.
a
No.
lot of
Well, when
a
people
lot of
say that, like when
immigrants-
people say, "Oh, people are coming across the southern border,"
they are.
this
They're-
point is
It's
the
not
southern
just
border.
Mexicans. It's
Eastern
also-
Europeans.
It's also
all
a
kinds
lot-
of people.
It's a lot of people from Central America, especially Guatemala. But not just that. There's fucking Somalis coming across the fucking southern border.
Mhm.
There's
Yeah.
fucking Bangladeshis,
Haitians,
coming across
Cubans.
There's like people from all over the world coming through the fucking southern border.
Yeah, well, that's the
And
whole thing.
Americans
It's the easiest
don't-
access point.
They don't understand that it's not just Hispanic fucking people coming across the goddamn border. It's people from all over the even worse shitholes than South America coming through the southern border.
Yeah.
And not only that, about half the fucking people that are here illegally have overstayed their fucking visas. They come here with a visa and then said fuck you and stay.
And disappear in the system.
Right.
Yeah. And
That's
that
even worse.
we're not even talking about the northern border. There's a lot of people that come across the Canadian border also.
Right? Yeah, but guess what? They want to
Well,
go
a lot
the
of
fuck
people
home
since
after they
Trump
buy their
came in
blue
have been
jeans.
fleeing over the northern border in Canada.
Yelling really loud.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Like, I have a lot of Canadian friends that are concerned because they said a lot of the illegal immigrants in the United States are fleeing over the northern border into Canada because Trudeau's more accepting to multiculturalism than Trump is.
Well,
And Trudeau is pissing Canadians off with that shit.
the
And
Canadians
fucking heated too.
They want to come
Canadians are turning
across.
right wing straight up. Like,
Yeah.
I know
They
a
want
lot
to
of
go to
them that are
Dearborn,
like normally
Michigan, to
leftists. But
fucking eat some goddamn. What the fuck is that?
I don't know, falafel or some
Fa-
shit.
No, the lamb. Never mind. I fell flat.
Yeah, that's all right.
well, like a gyro.
Yeah.
No, that's Greek.
Yeah.
What's Mediterranean?
Or
Either way.
Mediterranean.
Dearborn has the largest Muslim per capita population in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Dearborn is I think one of the largest Muslim populations, and then you got the Minneapolis. I think has one of the largest Somalian populations because they call it Little Somalia. Like, they have their own little enclaves,
Yeah.
where they pretty much just isolate themselves and
I
build their
agree.
own
That's what Black
communities where
John
they're
calls Maine.
set.
Little Somalia.
No.
So I used to tease him. I'm like, you're one of like the 3 minorities in the state of Maine. He's like, oh no. There's a huge Somalian population.
Hey, did you see? You didn't check on Telegram, but John ran into one of your buddies up there
Oh, I saw that.
in a
One of them.
little
What's
hipster diner run
Somebody
by
we're
a
all very
leftist
fond
couple.
of. Somebody that we are all.
Oh,
very
Jerry
fond of.
won.
Yeah,
Yes.
he ran into Jared. He
Oh,
ran
I
into
wish I would've
Jared.
been with
Some
him.
little mom and pop hipster ran by a couple of leftists. Little diner up there.
Nice.
Ran into Jared Howe.
Yeah, he ran into Jared Howe. Yeah.
I thought he was like ultra right wing.
Yeah, Jared is ultra, alt right.
I think John.
But is he
John
still?
figured
I haven't
that
heard
he didn't
anything
know.
from him.
John
He
figured
is.
that Jared didn't know he was
I'm glad.
contributing to a liberal establishment.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
That's funny. Is John still on Telegram?
Yeah, it's in the goat safe space one.
Oh, nice.
You have to go check it out. So,
Yeah.
speaking of safe spaces, how about why isn't this working now?
Oh, quick! I wanted to ask you guys thoughts about if you know anything or if you've heard anything about the Turkish forces battling the PKK in the Kurdish region of northern Syria.
I read they invaded Syria. Yeah.
Yeah, and they said that anybody that assists the PKK in Kurdistan, or well, what they want to call or make Kurdistan eventually, which the U.S. essentially was backing, and then they kind of like sold them out because United States is a NATO ally with Turkey, and then they were backing the Kurdish PKK against Turkey essentially. So they were like kind of like playing both sides of the fence on that whole deal, and then they just kind of like backed out and let the fucking PKK get slaughtered by fucking Turkey. And now Syria's like, well, what the fuck are you doing in northern Syria? Like, and they're like, oh, well, this is an invasion of Syria. We're just trying to take out the Kurdish. You know what I mean? So it's a whole clusterfuck, and it's like on, Russia's southern border there. It goes like, with Turkey and all that area. And then you got the fucking CIA and all them guys fucking funding and arming ISIS now in northern Afghanistan along the southern Russian border.
Yep.
So it's like, and then you got the shit in Ukraine on the fucking like western border of Russia. So it's like, what the fuck are they trying to do here? Destabilize the whole border region of Russia?
But it's anarchy.
Before they invade?
It's anarchy.
Well,
that
yeah.
would be chaos, though, guys.
Anarchy is
chaos.
Of course.
Jeez.
We already know that anarchy is everything that's bad in the book.
Right.
Limited government.
It's already been established.
Well, do you know
Government
the
does know
PKK?
wrong.
They
It
have a
protects the
bunch
people.
of like Western volunteers, like shitloads of people from the United States, Australia,
Yeah, they do.
Britain, went over there on their
Yeah.
own and fucking joined up with them. So they have
Yeah.
their own like American and fucking battalions and Australian battalions and British battalions.
I think the YGP of Rojoba or Rojova or whatever the fuck you want to call it, the essentially what is like socialist, communist, anarcho collective that exists in like Kurdistan there. They're like an extension of the PKK. But I don't know if they're getting attacked too. But I know I have socialist friends like that, say they're down with Antifa that support the YPG. And I'm like, I don't know if they'd support your Antifa bullshit.
Right.
They wouldn't. No.
It gets very convoluted,
It is. It's that whole situation is so foobar on so many levels.
Well, I mean, you got United States funding fucking ISIS and what was the other one there?
Funding ISIS while calling them the threat.
Yeah, that's never happened.
Funding the other,
US
the Al Qaeda branch in Syria. I forget what the fuck they called it themselves. Al Nusra Front.
Yeah.
But they were funding them and ISIS, and they were using the whole moderate rebel bullshit as a front to fucking fund all these rebel factions to fucking try and take out Assad because he was stopped, selling the oil and the petrodollar, and same fucking line that happened under Gaddafi and Saddam and all these other people. Yeah,
I have friends who tell me that all of this shit is still over. Like they say it's over fucking natural gas pipelines trying to be built through Syria.
Well, yeah, it is.
That's what it was. Is
because they don't want Russia to have control over the.
There was two pipelines proposed, right? One went to the west to the U.S. and the other one went north into Russia and Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And Assad wanted the one north. Assad wants the one that goes north. The U.S. wants the other one. So the U.S. decided Assad was an enemy and had to be removed.
Well, not only that, but it also feeds in the agenda of knocking out Syrian leadership and installing a Rothschild central bank, and also knocking out Syria as Iran's ally if we wanted to invade Iran and knock out them and install a Rothschild central bank in their country as well, because both of those countries, oddly enough, don't have Rothschild central banks, but we want war with them and North Korea.
Oh, I thought they already did. I thought Iran was one of the last holdouts.
They are.
But
they own their own central bank.
Oh, okay. I thought they were in the the IMF.
So
no, pretty sure they aren't.
So all right, how about back to domestic terrorists, you guys?
Okay.
Republican governor wants
Works
to
for me.
give police officers legal immunity from killing using excessive force against the suspect.
Oh, I saw that, dude. That's
Yeah, I
fucked up.
saw that too.
Oh, that's fantastic.
They
That's
want to
fucking
give police
disgraceful.
immunity from doing what?
Legal immunity from killing people and
No, from lawsuits for killing and abusing people.
right and excessive force.
Yeah. The Republican governor of New Mexico soon
would you
proposed
do that?
legislation that would protect officers from lawsuits, essentially granting them immunity from cases of excessive force.
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's never any problems there.
Governor
Jesus.
Susana Martinez's bill would shield officers who fail to comply with police officers or police orders, but would not protect officers who do not obey orders or break from training. Quote, I don't believe that police officers should be under constant threat of lawsuits that will often cause them to pause. If they are
Yes, they
following their
should.
training, they should be something that protects them. The bill would protect
So there should be
cops and
absolutely no
citizens.
accountability.
Yeah, the bill would protect cops and citizens from the quote massive payouts that taxpayers are giving crooks and thieves who are hurt or injured by officers who are doing their job.
Oh,
And that's a subjective
appeal to the
determination on
emotion.
who's a criminal there, kind of, right?
Crooks and thieves,
Like if somebody doesn't commit a
toddlers in their cribs that get flashbang
Yeah.
grenades thrown in their
Yeah.
fucking faces.
But
Or
that
people
doesn't make
that
any
are,
sense because their training is to use their fucking best judgment. So it's subjective.
It's entirely subjective. It's entirely that.
And actually, to be honest with you, their training isn't so much to use their best judgment. Their training is to like create a superior position.
Well, that's the
like,
whole
you know,
thing.
through
Their training
you know,
changed under once they started getting trained by Israeli security forces, it changed big time.
Oh.
And then you see a rise in fucking police
before
brutality.
That, it was to create that command presence.
Oh, absolutely.
where
it's kind of like to intimidate your subject to the point where they don't even like bring up the fact that they have rights. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
And let's not forget that 1,187 people were killed by police officers last year. 12 were brought up on charges. 1 went to trial.
Yeah.
Well,
Let me ask you this:
when I went through security training, I did security part-time for the Navy, and I was trained under I think it was like the Marine Corps Cadre Auxiliary Security Force training. They actually brought a fucking New York City police officer down to Virginia to fucking teach us how to knife fight. I'm not.
Yeah, because they get trained by they get trained
IDF.
They get trained by Israeli security forces. NYPD
I'm not
does.
fucking kidding you. And they taught us how to fucking stab somebody under the fucking jaw so you have a handle to control their head. I am not kidding you.
Well, you control the head, you control the body. That's how it works.
But I'm just saying. I mean, it's fucking crazy the training that the cops get.
Well, the NYPD, it's documented that they get their training from Israeli security forces and people that know Cabo McGraw.
Mhm.
And I know somebody who went to FLETC. I know somebody who went to FLETC, the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, and their training is centered around using like being violent. Like they have to be trained to be extra violent with people.
Violence of action. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
pretty much the basis of Israeli martial arts.
Yeah.
And
right.
Yeah.
And people are surprised when the cops get out of line.
Yeah, no shit. Right?
Heisenberg.
Dan, what are you doing to Heisenberg?
He was running in the hallway. I had to pick his ass up.
You don't want to know, Mark. You don't want to know.
Fucking escape artist and shit.
Oh.
Well, I mean, instead of people joining the police force that want to use restraint and don't want to hurt anybody, we're getting like an influx of fucking psycho motherfuckers who want to fucking rule the world.
Because it's the only way for their impulses to have an outlet with almost no consequences. They want to fucking hurt people.
You can bring up that.
Yeah.
You can bring up. I mean, you can look up on the internet that they fucking don't hire anybody over 100 IQ.
Yeah,
like
they have
kind of standard.
There was an actual lawsuit, like a guy had like a 125 or something like that, applied to be a cop, and he was rejected. Took him to court. Yeah. So SCOTUS has ruled that police do not have to hire high IQ individuals.
Well, because the higher IQ, the more you're going to question the morality of what you're doing.
And they don't want that. They want unquestioning, unthinking robots.
Yeah.
Well, prime example of this, because I was saying to somebody earlier on Twitter, I was like, any of the good ones, they either cast out or kill. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it's like anybody that tries to blow the whistle, like, for example, that dude was going to testify in Baltimore against police corruption. They killed him the night before he was going to testify.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
so that he got shot with his own service revolver.
They ruled it a suicide, and then the FBI had to come in, and the FBI is like, no, that's bullshit. It was made to look like a suicide.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is surprising because they covered up Vince Foster's murder, that he was murdered, and fucking they said it looked like a suicide.
Yeah, well, but the FBI has no problem sticking it to the local jurisdictions. They just don't
not
want
the Clintons.
anybody. Right. Yeah. Yeah. The FBI will they'll cover up.
Well, because they knew the Clintons
shit.
had dirt on everybody back then too, because of the whole Mina fucking Arkansas drug running Iran-Contra operation.
Yep. But the FBI does like flexing their muscle and fucking sticking it to local jurisdictions. So they,
totally.
They get a thrill out of that. So
because FBI, it's federal supremacy over state or local jurisdiction, so it's like you get a hard on over that.
They do. They totally get their rocks off on it.
Yeah, FBI arrested a sheriff at an LA County a couple of days ago, for running a protection racket for the cartels.
No shit.
Yeah, they set up. They set up a fake buy, and the cop came and was going to run security for them to move it upstate. And then they arrested the cop with like 45 pounds of coke or something.
Well, I mean, think about it. That's the perfect monopoly on crime. You know what I mean? Like you have the cover of being law enforcement, but who's gonna fucking have any oversight over what you're doing?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So you can run drugs, you can run fucking human trafficking, you can run fucking pedo rings, all this shit that these people have been implicated in.
And we still have people arguing against anarchy by saying without government, warlords would take over. What the fuck do you call these assholes?
What's going on right now?
And their fucking gangs. They are warlords.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. And they are all fucking fighting with each other all the time.
To the very definition of what a warlord is.
Seriously. Seriously. Without government is warlords. Every fucking...
Well, I always say that, like, I'm like, you want to, like, find out what the biggest terrorist organizations on the planet are. Look at what fucking, government rules over you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, they're not really, because they rule by fear. You live in fear of being kidnapped and caged, beaten and killed. That's fucking terrorism.
Yeah. Living under duress.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The red, white, and blue, red, white, and blue is supposed to mean freedom until you see the lights in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
Well, like I've said to other people, like recently, I was like, even Patrick Henry argued at the fucking, Constitutional Convention of, when they were going to ratify the Constitution. He was like,
1787.
He was like, these people didn't give you the authority to establish a government in their name.
Right.
Like, he was an anti-federalist, and he was kind of like the modern day anarchist of, what the people, comprised the colonists were, because he was like totally anti-federal government. Like, I mean, he most likely believed in like, state governments, but that was like, a smaller, at the time, smaller and more manageable form of government than having one
And back then, a state government, even like at the Capitol, it was so far away from the people. I mean, they didn't have the technology we have now. The government's reach was not what it is today. It was nowhere near as omnipotent as it is today. So it was negligible. Like the state level governments were something that people could basically ignore in their local districts.
Yeah, and there
was kind of like the federal government today.
Yeah, except give that a shot. See how that goes for you.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They were
well, actually, rethinking what you just said, Derek, I understand what you're saying about how it didn't intrude on their lives because it was kind of like a distant thing.
Right.
And they were able to kind of like function.
Agents would have to travel for days.
Yeah, by horseback.
Right.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt.
So.
Well, I thought what you meant was that you were saying was that it was like so kind of like far out of reach that they didn't really have any control over it, but. I would say that, like, not that I would argue for government at all, but I think that state governments would probably be better for people than overall homogenous, federal government.
Right.
Because
decentralized. Let's keep decentralizing.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but I'm saying, like, if you want to like bring status to our level, you kind of have to take it steps gradually backwards. I would imagine.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'd love to bring it back all the way to where we want it, but unfortunately, not everybody is there yet.
No, they're not ready for it.
I think that local politicians would have a whole lot more fucking fear in their hearts if they were just governing their state. And they were fucking responsible to the people within the state, and like the people could fucking be like, okay, well, we're gonna fucking lynch you if you don't fucking.
I think they'd have a lot more fear if they got tarred and feathered.
Yeah, exactly.
And if they didn't have a federal government bailing them out for stupid fucking financial decisions, if they didn't have anybody to pass the buck to up the fucking, governmental chain of command, you know what I'm saying? Like, the fucking chain of accountability is so long and so fucking twisted. Nobody can actually find the person responsible for the bullshit that's pissing them off.
And
it's fucking impossible.
That is by design. That is absolutely by design.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's what do they call it?
Plausible deniability.
There you go. That's exactly the term I was looking for.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but recently did an episode of Liberty Under Attack with Shane Radcliffe and Ben Stone, and we talked about solutions to that sort of thing.
I listened to it.
Yes, that was a very fun episode, and it got a lot of conversation started. But I'm not going to say those things here live on the air because I don't want to get droned.
Right.
If you heard the conversation, you would know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
So,
I didn't hear it. I'm going to have to check it out.
Yes. Liberty Under Attack. It is building the Second Realm 3, and it's called Putting Bludgies in the Ground.
Yeah, because like the way that I see it right now, like, I mean, as much as we would all like to just, set it back, not set it back, but, you know what I mean? Like, bring ourselves into a realm of us having a grasp over our individual freedom, right? Unfortunately, a lot of people aren't there yet.
No.
Nope.
They're so dependent.
Although, I mean, as much as I would like them to be.
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole thing.
Yeah. Humanity has been groomed for dependency for fucking millennia.
Well, that's because the government has the control over the school system. And that's where it all starts out at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep. Coercive schooling is the single most detrimental thing that has ever happened to our freedom.
Yeah.
It really is, because it's like you answer to authority. Like, you have to raise your hand, you have to ask to go to the bathroom, you have to fucking respond to the bell. It's all, it's all Pavlovian training.
It's not even just that. It's the Prussian school model that does create obedient little cookie cutter fucking citizens, but it's more than that. It's the content, it's the curriculum that's being controlled at the federal fucking level.
Yep, information
by the Department
control.
of Education. Exactly. and the kids are not being taught anything the way that it really is anymore.
No.
You know,
not only are they not being taught things that
they should be taught.
things that they should be taught, they're not taught how to think.
Right. And they're being taught a lot of things that they should not be taught. I mean, it's like this is multifaceted fuckery with our children.
It's multi-generational.
And it goes beyond just grade school and high school. It goes right into college.
Oh,
and it gets even
it
deeper
started
in college.
If you ask me, it fucking started in the
well, yeah, because a lot of the
system.
college or a lot of the teachers went to college and became like, you know, lefty fucking teachers.
That's where they had to start. They had to start with the universities, and the
I know plenty of teachers around here that are like, you know, AC or they're part of the teachers union and all that, and they're all like, you know, leftist Democrats and and they push socialism, you know, on the kids, thinking that it's, you know, for the benefit of everybody because, you know, oh, then we'll all be equal.
Yeah. Nobody's equal. I'm not even equal. I'm not even equal to who I was yesterday.
Yeah, well, these people live in a fucking fantasy land. Last time I checked, so
yeah.
Well, yeah, the kids that are coming up today, right? These are the third generation from the hippie parents, right? All the kids that grew up in the 60s and 70s were the products of them, and then our kids are the third generation of the hippie movement. And each year, the hippie movement, the socialism, the liberalism, the dumbing down of intelligence, the
collectivization.
The collectivization, the deglorification of capitalism and independent thought, and you know, pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps.
Right.
This
demonization of individual achievement and responsibility.
But the state will help you, so it's okay.
That's the thing, right? This is the third generation of that thinking, and with each generation, it gets more and more and more compounded.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. So this next generation, like the our kids' generation, our grandkids, it's gonna be even worse.
Yeah.
Well, like Max Horkheimer was one of the. He was one of the Max Horkheimer. He was one of the founding fathers of cultural Marxism out of the Frankfurt Institute before it was shut down during the.
We lost Mark.
I think Mark fell asleep
when the Nazis took power. They shut down the Frankfurt Institute and they kind of fled Germany and went to Columbia University in New York City, and they continued their operations in the United States. And what they said was, Horkheimer said that there wasn't going to be a revolution by guns or bullets. It was going to be a revolution through the institutions, and generation after generation, they were going to fucking pump the Marxist propaganda into the youth until they reached complete egalitarianism. Like, that was their agenda.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You gotta have a solid base. You gotta have a foundation on which to build your revolution. If they came in, there was just a violent revolution and the government was overthrown and socialists took over the government, there would be mass revolt among the people, right? They would never be able to maintain
so much resistance. They do it this way with almost no resistance.
If they build it and create a solid foundation, then they can have that socialist government and the people will support it because that's what they've been taught to support.
Right.
Yep. And that's what we're working against, essentially, which is fucked up because it's like we're almost doing the same thing by trying to educate people the proper way and build a base which to educate, you know, which can also educate other people from. You know what I mean? So it's like
force, though. You know,
well, that's the whole thing. But like, like we're taking their objective of using education as a weapon against them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
Because they've been doing this for so long, like that was their agenda.
They're using
for
it as an offensive
since
weapon.
We're using the 30s.
As a defensive weapon.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. But it's like education is really it's really key. The strongest weapon that you have in your arsenal.
Yeah,
because
education is absolutely key.
Because people always ask me, they're like, "Well, how do we get to where you're talking about?" And I'm like, "Education." You know, solid family units where your children aren't dependent. Like, look at the state as the fucking, you know, the parent figure.
But you lose people when you say that because it takes too long. They can't fathom that kind of patience, that kind of working towards the long goal.
It's simple. It's simple, like basic things, though.
Right.
In all honesty.
I know, but it's not instant enough gratification.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, well,
they
I
want
always
a
argue
solution
to.
now.
Yeah, well, that's what I always argue to other anarchists. I'm like, you got to keep the long view in mind.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be short-term satisfaction. I was like, it's going to take a couple generations for us to get, for this to get where it wants to go.
Yes, it is.
But
because I'm never going to see it in my lifetime doesn't mean that I don't believe it and I don't want to be part of making it happen.
Well, exactly. That's what I mean. You know what I mean? You're going to plant a seed for a tree that you may not ever sit under to enjoy its shape.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, we're planting seeds for trees that are going to feed our kids and our grandkids.
That's right.
Great grandkids.
Yeah.
And I think that, we're morally justified in doing so.
I believe so. Yeah. Anybody who just wants to be left the fuck alone without coercion is morally justified in defending their right to be left the fuck alone.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's as simple as that. Just leave me the fuck alone.
You can't really argue with that.
No.
All right.
But then what do we do about Nazis or communists?
I don't fucking care. Leave me the fuck alone.
And most people don't understand that.
I always argue with people.
Don't understand that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just leave me alone. That's all I want to do is be free.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But
I always argue to people.
You don't want me to be free, bastards.
I'm like, in a free market of ideas, people that with shitty ideologies are going to discredit themselves on their own. You don't need to censor what the fuck they're going to do.
Right.
Like, they're going to expose themselves for the fucking retards they are.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, what if those ideologies get out there and people pick up on them? I'm like, well, then that's kind of their own fault. And then we'll deal with it later down the road. But it's like, at the same time, it's you can't censor things because then it puts a red flag on things like, don't look at this. And it's going to attract people to look at it.
Right. Mm-hmm. And my thing is,
because it's,
who fucking cares if people want to fucking follow some asshole KKK Grand High Dragon or something, unless and until they come after you, your neighbor, your children, somebody, that unless and until they fucking aggress against you, it is not your fucking business what they believe.
But we gotta prevent them before the fire spreads.
No way. If they do aggress against you, pull out your fucking recreational McNukes and wipe them off the face of the fucking planet.
What's hilarious is all these people that are saying, "Oh, we can't let them do this. We can't let them do that." They're seeking freedom through fascism.
Yep. Yeah.
Just
freedom from what they are afraid of, not real freedom. Freedom from fear.
Did you say
freedom from uncertainty? Yes, I said
recreational McNuke.
What is that?
It's a joke. Everybody's like, without government or
the sad thing is that
debate. Do you think people should be allowed to own nukes? Sure. Why the fuck not?
That's a stupid argument.
Well, the sad thing is that
that's why
I don't know if you guys
recreational McNukes.
Pocket nuke.
I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I've noticed it, and it's usually the case that whether people have a tendency to go left, they usually go extreme left anymore. And then those that are, whatever, moderately right or whatever, kind of get pushed to the extreme right because of the actions of the left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So
Society
it's almost like a reactionary extremism that kind of feeds each other. You know what I mean?
Over the last 10 years, society has become extremely fucking polarized.
Absolutely.
But think about it. What was
it becomes party of politics or party of politics of opposites.
Right.
Well, not only that, but identitarianism and identity politics has played a huge role in that.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's people on the right that I identify as identitarians, and then there's people that on the left that play identity politics in terms of minorities and races and stuff against white folks or whatever, and pit them against each other. And then people that are white, if they're not smart enough, they'll go fucking full right-wing extremist and be like, well, fuck anybody that's a minority because they're against me. You know what I mean? Because they can't be nuanced enough to make the distinction that okay, not everybody's fucking against you, dude.
Right. They feel attacked and they get defensive. I mean? Right. They get all
exactly. Well, that's what defensive.
I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
fuck
what's
white
funny?
people.
What's funny
It's
is
like you got to be smart enough to think for yourself.
they're so afraid of the minorities getting control of the government or of the white people getting control of the government because the government is the only thing that can oppress you.
Right.
Exactly.
Right?
It's a monopoly on force.
Monopoly on force. So stop the fucking government, and you don't have to worry about those other people.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and I've argued that point to people, and I posted that earlier on Twitter about it. It was like,
but it's
people
not just
complaining
because they're
about
afraid
institutional.
of brown people. I mean, you hear so much anti-white rhetoric blaming white people for everything that they're afraid that if brown people get control of the government, that we're going to be fucking killed. Like they get, because that's all you hear in the fucking media.
Well, some of the
That's
people
all
within
you
those
hear in the
groups
media.
actually do have an agenda
La
in mind.
Raza.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like there's like
some.
La Raza and Black Lives Matter, and like people at the higher
Oh,
levels
yeah.
of those groups that are funded by like the Ford Foundation and others and George Soros.
Soros.
Yeah.
Those people
Who's white?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and those people, foment revolutions that are, supremacist of that, minority or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's sad that it happens, but it does happen. And the fact of the matter is that some white folks are responding in the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of
Oh,
trying to open
absolutely.
up a dialogue with people, that are minorities within this country and trying to, see common ground, it's like they kind of further the division and become, extremists on either sides,
Yeah.
which is
And I've seen
unfortunate.
people who were reasonable go full fucking racist.
Well,
on
that's what I mean.
Facebook because of it.
That's what I mean. And it's sad because it's like,
Well, if you go outside, I mean, if you run to the store or drive down the street or go to the mall, you see hundreds and thousands of people interacting peacefully and reasonably. Like all this fucking rhetoric that you see in the news and through fucking
It's
social
designed
media,
to frighten people.
like this whole thing of people pitted against each other, that's not reality.
No.
No, it's not the natural order.
It's fear.
At all.
It's fear porn.
Well,
and
that's what I
propaganda.
always say. I'm like,
It
go
is
talk to
fear
your
porn.
neighbor and see how fucking divided we are.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like,
No, but you have this absolutely wonderful tool that we are talking on right now. This absolutely wonderful tool. You have one in your pocket also. Everybody has a smartphone in their pocket that allows you to connect with literally anybody anywhere in the world instantaneously.
Yeah.
Talk to the people in the Middle East. Talk to the people in Iran. Talk to the people in Syria, and they don't hate you. They don't hate you.
No.
It is the governments. It is the extremists. The same as it is here. It is not the average black person. It's not the average Mexican that hates you. It is the extremist, and the extremists get played on the news and they get played on social media because it is fear porn. It is propaganda, and sensationalism sells.
Just like it's not the average white person that fucking goes around throwing racial slurs and burning
fuck no,
crosses.
dude. We don't
on
care about
people's
that
lawns.
shit.
I don't have red shoelaces. I have no red shoelaces. All right, it's not me.
Well, check it out. This is where I'm at. Is that like fucking pretty much everybody that isn't a fucking extremist just wants to take care of their family and live their fucking life, go to work, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just enjoy what the fruits of life have to offer, right?
Yep.
And make sure that their kids have a better life than they did.
Right.
Essentially, that's pretty much most people's drives.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's
and to get laid.
That's pretty much the basic biological impetus behind life in general. I mean, every organism exhibits this.
Without a doubt.
Provide for your young, and
but then you add
the
extra layer of government on it to pump fear into you and fucking tell you that these people over here are your enemies, or these black folks are your enemies because they're trying to take your jobs, or these Mexicans are your enemies because they're trying to take your jobs, whatever the fuck it is, this week or whatever. But like Kevin said, it's like you go outside your fucking door and people on average aren't going to be racist to each other, aren't going to fucking, act uncivilized to each other in normal society. Like, that's not how things work.
No.
You know what I mean? People might hold like closeted fucking racist views behind doors with their, other white friends or black friends or Mexican friends or whatever, because we're not going to just say that only white people are racist, because I know racist black people, I know racist Mexican people, I know fucking racist people of every fucking walk of life.
Hell yeah.
but they might not be openly racist within society because it's like kind of, you know, socially unacceptable to be like that openly.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like we kind of all
yeah.
reach like a kind of a level of civilized interactment with each other that, you know, is kind of holds the fabric of things together.
It's good enough. You don't have to get inside people's heads and fucking regulate what they think and feel.
No.
It's good enough that we treat each other civilly. All the rest isn't your
exactly.
fucking business.
Yep.
That's
and
what
you don't
I mean.
even and you don't even have to treat people courteously or with courtesy, respect, or even civility. Just don't fucking harm them.
Right.
Right? Just leave them alone. Don't fuck with them. That's all it takes. That's all it really takes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And if it goes further than that, an armed society is a polite society.
Yep. Exactly. And that's anarchy in a nutshell. Don't fucking hurt people.
Do no harm. Do no harm. Take no shit.
Yep.
But that sounds like chaos, guys.
Oh, that's terrible. All right, so let's get on to something that really matters. Let's move on to something that really.
It totally doesn't sound like government order, which is, you know, war and theft and rape and sexual assault at the TSA checkpoints. And,
because humans don't just, you know, humans don't find order out of, you know, I mean, say if humans were thrown into a chaotic situation, they would find order out of that situation because humans tend to appreciate feeling comfortable in their situation and making sure that their children are protected.
We like
because that's like their first
stable. You know?
Well, that's what I mean. So it's like even out of chaos, you're gonna find order, and it's gonna, you know, kind of find an equilibrium where people are comfortable with.
Unless the chaos we're talking about is a teenage boy's room, I'm not fucking creating order there. Sorry. I'll fucking.
Well, what I'm saying is like, even if government collapsed today, and people that are statists that depend on the government and think that it, like, you know, helps our lives run smoothly, and we had to make an adjustment period between now, or, you know, between the collapse of government completely and an anarchist society, we would find an equilibrium amongst each other.
Oh, it would take time. There'd be a lot of chaos, and there would be a lot of fighting and a lot of this and a lot of that. But eventually,
there's a lot of people that are just too fucking dependent and too fucking stupid.
But like you said, there would be an eventual stabilization, right? There is a social and societal Darwinism to it.
Yes.
Yeah. Right? The people that would act out and do the sort of things that we're talking about, do the actual chaos, those people would not last long. Those people would not last long. And
people are so afraid Darwin of that scenario. And I'm like, why? Don't you want society to evolve? Don't you want it to become better? Fucking allow natural selection to do its thing.
Yep. Stop telling people to eat Tide Pods.
Stop telling people not to eat Tide Pods.
Not to eat Tide Pods. Yes, not to eat Tide Pods.
Well, when Tide said our products are absolutely not for consumption, if you do eat them, drink water or drink a glass of water or a glass of milk, all I thought was, you know, great Tide Pods go great with milk.
Right.
Oh my goodness. All right. Let's move on to something really important, you guys.
Okay.
Like, if there was ever going to be an armed revolution in this country, an armed revolt, this would cause it.
Okay.
Cold beer sales won't be expanded this year after Senate committee votes against the bill 9-1.
Uh-oh.
Indianapolis, Indiana, right? The bill to allow gas stations, grocery, and convenience stores to sell cold beer has failed in the Senate Public Policy Committee 9-1, effectively making the proposal dead for this year. Indiana is the only state that regulates the temperature at which beer is sold.
Fucking Christ, dude.
Because the deal is, they think it prevents drunk driving. Is that right? Because people don't want to drink a beer if it's not cold, but if it's cold, they can't help themselves and they'll drink it in the parking lot.
Pretty sure if you're wasted, you don't care if a beer is warm.
Yeah.
Grocery and convenience stores and pharmacies can sell cold wine and warm beer. but the sale of carry-out cold beer is primarily limited to liquor stores, who owners say expanded cold beer sales would force many of them out of business.
Jesus.
Those supporting the change lampoon Indiana for being behind the times. Quote, I want what my consumers want, and my consumers want cold beer. They're using a free ATM in our instance. If they're a smoker, they're getting smokes. They just want to do everything in one stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Indiana, you cannot get cold beer at the gas station.
All right,
Because
now
they
let's
wanna force
frame that
people
against
to
the free
take it
market,
home.
right? Let's frame
Because
that.
it is not a free market, yes.
No, but let's frame that against the free market. Don't you think a free market would provide cold beer because that's what the customer wants?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
in a free market, yes, they would have cold beer at the gas station because that's what the consumer wants.
A free market.
Yeah, exactly. And it wouldn't be about
totally
regulating the temperature or any of this nitpicking bullshit. It'd just be like, okay, well, I have my own self-interest and I want to make money, so I'm going to sell what the customer wants.
Jeez.
It's pretty much how it works. It's pretty simple.
Yeah. Well, but free markets are scary because in a real free market, we lost Jason too. In a real free market, the market would provide sex robot compound guards with recreational McNukes in their titties.
In their chesticles?
Yeah,
Their testicles.
That was really weird. I missed that whole thing. I got disconnected.
You're gonna have to go back and watch it. That was good.
Okay. All I heard was recreational nukes and titties.
Yeah.
She said something about sex robots with fucking nukes in their chesticles.
Yeah, I said, well, the free market's scary because a free market would provide, a truly free market would provide sex doll compound guards with recreational McNukes in their titties.
I'd seduce every last one of them.
We can't have that. Okay. All right.
I still have to get up early.
Oh, yeah, you have to drive up to work and get furloughed.
Yeah.
Wishing you luck, brother.
All right. You guys have a good night.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Kevin.
Yeah, no sweat.
Time is it? What time is it? Ooh, we're getting
We got like
close
20
to-
minutes left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love you too.
All right. Let's see if I got any good ones left.
Hey, make sure they talk
Hey, will you take the puppies out?
again.
Yeah.
Make sure you talk about fucking California confiscating fucking half of the windfall from
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a good one.
tax cuts.
The tax cuts that Trump
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
whatever that they passed, they want the California wants half of what the businesses are going to get in that tax windfall. I'm like,
yes.
I
Or
posted an
they're
article
not
about
even
that. I'm like, you
getting
want to
it.
kill a fucking
That's what I
state's
hate.
economy? There
They
you
don't
go.
fucking understand. That makes me crazy when they say,
You
"Oh,
can't
you're
tax
gonna
people
get,
into prosperity.
you're gonna get this much from the tax cuts."
No,
I'm
you're
fucking not.
You're not
I'm
getting.
keeping that much of my own fucking money.
I'm
Crazy.
getting
Yeah.
7 less whips from the IRS.
Right. Right.
Right?
I'm getting stolen
But
from
wait until the
less.
state
I'm not
government gets their
getting
cut.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh, shit.
yeah, the state of California. There's a couple of Democrats here in the state of California that are proposing legislation to the state Senate, and what it would do is because of the tax cuts from Trump, the margin that the difference in pay between the old tax rates and the new tax rates, the state of California wants half of what companies would have saved in order to pay for social programs in the state of California.
But they want
This-
$15 for their workers.
At the same time, the freaking plan that nobody wants is $2.8 billion over budget.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. And then we got the proposal for New California, only with more communism.
Oh no. Okay, no. Okay, there's the secession movement from California to form New California. Right. there's been several secession movements in California, right? There's Jefferson, which is ongoing, right? That's part of Northern California, part of Southern Oregon. There was the
But that'd be like a red
plan.
state.
That would be a yellow state, realistically. Like that would be way closer to yellow than to.
Well, they are more libertarian, without a doubt.
Conservative,
yeah.
That would be a very limited government area, and I would move up there in a heartbeat.
No.
And then there was the proposal to separate California into 6 different states, in which I would get fucked in that one because I would still be part of the San Francisco Bay Area.
Yeah, you get lumped in.
But the new one is a proposal to split California, seceding away from California to form New California would be the conservative parts of the state. Right? This is a conservative secession movement, as opposed to a liberal or socialist concession movement.
But New California would be the liberal section, wouldn't it?
No. New California would be the conservative.
Oh, what?
Right,
Really?
that would be the larger portion of the state. The California, the California as we know it now, would be like San Francisco and Alameda County, all the way down the coast, areas. All the way down the coast to LA.
Okay, so then what I'm talking about is
that would still be California.
Okay, so then the California that would be classified as California would be the liberal section, the coastal areas, the city areas, and the rest of it would be the conservative.
The New California would be the conservative areas, and San Diego, the San Diego area.
Interesting.
San Diego actually begged to be a part of the secession movement because San Diego has all the military bases and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of those people are definitely conservative.
So, and that would be all the Central Valley, all the way up through the Sierra Nevadas, all the way up into Northern California.
So California
up the coast
would be entirely surrounded by New California.
But it would be sandwiched between New California and the ocean.
Right.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah. And thankfully, thank goodness, I would be part of New California here in Contra Costa County.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I thought you would be part of the liberal section.
No,
that's what I was asking you the other day.
No, I'm on the eastern side of the, like, Contra Costa County, right? The eastern edge of California, or eastern edge of Contra Costa County, is the eastern edge of the San Francisco Bay Area. And I am near that eastern edge, and we have a lot of agriculture in our area.
Because liberal policies have ruined California like hardcore.
Yes.
Not that conservatives are any better, but you know what I mean. It's like seems that liberal policies.
Quit, I mean, they just take and take.
Well, that's that whole C.S. Lewis quote of benevolent dictators thing about how they just fucking are never satiated.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they rule over you with the approval of their own conscience.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The tyrants who are doing it for your own good will torment you without
end.
Like arresting people for feeding the homeless?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
You know, that scenario right there encompasses the irony of the state to me, because it's like they'll fucking arrest you for doing voluntary community service and then force you to do
the same thing,
and then tax you for social programs.
Yeah, and then tax you, but not only that, but they'll force you to do community service that you were doing in the first place voluntarily.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck, dude?
This is this is the very distilled essence of fucking absurdity.
It is. It really is.
It makes me feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Yeah. Okay.
No, it does, because it's like, why the fuck would you arrest somebody for doing a good deed and helping people out? Like, I can understand their concern about you maybe poisoning people, but people aren't that fucking devious. You know what I mean? It's like somebody isn't going to poison a batch of fucking food to feed homeless people and like go out of their way to do that.
Right? Why would
if they're going to feed homeless people? It's because they actually have concern for those people.
Why would I raise like $1,500 and volunteers and organize this whole fucking thing and buy all the food and go to all that trouble just to fucking poison people?
Yeah, but the funny thing is that the government's actually been documented it fucking in like, you know, spraying fucking cities with poison and
they
fucking
judge us by their own standards. They assume that we are just as big of fucking corrupt, devious assholes as they are. They can't conceive of decent people. They just don't fucking, it doesn't compute.
Well, sorry that we don't inhabit the government that you control. We just don't want any part of it because we're fucking moral, decent people.
Right.
Maybe you'd know what we're like, though, if we did.
Exactly.
But we want to know what part of it.
Yeah, my favorite part about this one is it was an act of civil disobedience. Let's see. The event was organized by a group called Break the Ban, which formed after the El Cajon City Council unanimously passed an emergency ordinance in October prohibiting the distribution of food on any city-owned property. City-owned property. That's an oxymoron of its own. But
yes.
Yeah, right.
City officials said the ordinance was a way to protect the public from hepatitis A, but critics have called it punitive measures to dehumanize and criminalize the homeless.
Yeah.
Mark Lane, one of the event's organizers, said about 12 to 15 people were passing out food and toiletries to the homeless in Wells Park on East Madison Avenue when police arrived.
How does that put people at risk for hepatitis A? I'm sorry. Are you fucking are you like exchanging food and toiletries for like dirty needles or something? Like I don't understand.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't
the old
understand.
boogeyman trick, dude.
Are they paying you with like infected bodily fluids? I don't get it.
Well, somebody made a really good point about, they were like, during the government shutdown, we should make the fucking government employees, like, you know, especially like congressmen and senators and, you know, the president and, you know, their administration live in tents and like, you know, a homeless tent city, and then stick the cops on them and have them fucking destroy their fucking tent city.
And let's
deny them
blankets.
like the ability to have like people voluntarily feed them. And like see how they you know feel under those conditions.
And
let's not banks have
that
foreclosed on so many people's houses.
Let's not forget the point that the government is largely responsible for most of these people being homeless.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. The government and the banks, dude, because they organized this whole, you know, collapse of the economy so that they could fucking take control of people's homes and foreclose on them, even though if they were paid up, you know, to the point of, you know, when they came to foreclose on them, because a lot of those foreclosures were fraudulent, and the banks just wanted their homes.
Let's not forget that the bank caused the real estate bubble to begin with.
Oh, absolutely, it did.
Well, and
usually
the government
it always does.
The CRA.
Yeah, and
everybody
the CRA,
overlooks the CRA, but that was a huge driver in the housing bubble. And that was under Clinton, was it, or was it Bush? It was one of the Clinton or Bush. The CRA.
Either way, same person.
Not much different.
Yeah.
I was gonna say not much difference because those families work together.
Exactly. But I mean, yeah, they engineered the fucking housing bubble.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, they did. And this is kind of the same thing that's going on now. Like we see like this economic boom right now, and the housing bubble, and the economic bubble, and the fucking Wall Street bubble, and all these bubbles are like being created. What happens when they pop?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like Trump's saying, "Oh well, you know, the economy is so great under me," but what happens when it collapses or there's a market correction? He's going to have to take responsibility for those things,
right? and the thing is, people, it's not just an unfortunate circumstance. It doesn't just screw over the little guy. You got to see the other side of it. It also benefits the ones who are in a position to seize power over all these assets, over all of your fucking rights, over everything that you put on the line in order to get where you were. You lose all that. Mom. They are the ones fucking gaining it. Mom. It doesn't just get lost into the ether. Mom. Somebody's fucking gaining what you're losing. Mom.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's how they consolidate wealth.
Yeah.
I mean, ever since 1913, the institution of the fucking Federal Reserve, we haven't seen as many boom and bust cycles, you know, before that. Than we do now, you know what I mean? Because it's they engineer them so that when that bubble pops, they're on top of it and they fucking consolidate wealth into their own hands out of the pockets of the fucking people that have invested in that system.
Yeah, and people are like, "Oh, well, that's what would happen without government." No, that only happens
Fuck no, it
because
wouldn't.
of government. That only happens because of government.
If a free market is self-regulating. A free market, you would not have those. If you would not have those kind of bubbles and booms like that, you would have a largely self-regulating flat market that had gradual increases and decreases, and you wouldn't have the big jumps.
Right.
No, not at all. It would be even if there was a bust in a certain area, it wouldn't be so big that it would affect people in such a way that
it would not be nationwide. Number one, it would be largely regional, and it would most likely be caused by some sort of environmental catastrophe, or some sort of a business catastrophe.
Because the only way to achieve it now is imposed artificial scarcity.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the market, and only the government can fucking do that. Only a central governing body can create that, because they're the only ones authorized to use force against different elements of the fucking market to make it this way.
They enable monopolies.
Yes, absolutely.
And which you wouldn't have monopolies in a free market either, because competition, right? You have a free market, you have competition. Competition breeds a better product at a lower price.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And
if you would have diversity of options.
And they have a responsibility to their customers to provide the best goods or services. You know what I mean? That's kind of how it works.
Things like Yelp and other rating services, those are far, far more effective in a free market than any sort of FDA.
Go read the Amazon reviews. You can learn everything you ever wanted to know about any fucking product Amazon carries by reading the reviews. Average people asking questions. There's a Q&A section. You can ask anything you want about it. People who already have it will tell you anything you need to know. You can read the reviews. I mean, like, I decide whether to purchase something or not based on reviews from other customers.
Every time I'm thinking about buying a product, I'll go to the reviews and go to the lowest score reviews and start reading those.
Yep. Even if I want to buy something at my local store, I'll look it up on Amazon and read the reviews. Yep.
Well, that's just a smart consumer.
Right.
You know what I mean? Most people are just like, they're like, they kind of feed on what their wants are or whatever's popular at the moment kind of thing because of the media.
Because they've been told government protects them through regulations, so they don't have to worry about it.
Yep. Oh, yeah. That's why nobody ever gets sick from listeria or salmonella.
Right.
or from Chili's.
Right.
Del Taco.
Spinach.
Yeah, or spinach or lettuce or
yeah,
beef is never being recalled because of metal,
right.
Metal from the grinders is in the meat. That never happens. Never. Not at all.
But I mean, you have for example, you have like a small entrepreneur meat market that isn't like state controlled or whatever, you know what I mean? It's just a little mom and pop shop that provides meat for the community, right?
Right.
They have a responsibility to their customers to provide the best quality, meats and services. Otherwise, they're going to fucking go out of business.
Right.
You know what I mean? Their own self-interest is the motivating factor for them to do, the best that they can so that they keep getting fucking money.
And I would say that government
that's kind of how it works.
Yeah, and I would say that government regulation, barriers to entry into entrepreneurship, licensing restrictions, things like that. I think these things make food more dangerous because the only ones who can afford to be in the food business are so far away from their end consumer that these fucking foods have to be shipped. And there's a whole process for how they have to be treated with preservatives and all this shit so that they can be shipped. And not only that, but the longer it takes to get a food from farm to table, the longer it has to become contaminated with dangerous bacteria. You have people buying things.
Well, not only that, they enable factory farming.
Right.
With subsidies and things like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like all these horrible practices that like vegans and vegetarians are against are enabled by government monopoly. You know what I mean? If you
it also
I'm not saying that we should all go back to mom and pop meat shops or whatever, but those are probably some of the best places to get meats from because they're fucking You know, they're not subsidized. They're not propped up. Like
and the meat is local and it's fresh, and
their income base is the employ, or is the consumer. So it's like they
Right.
have the responsibility to the consumer to provide the best, possible products that those consumers are gonna want
right.
because that's what they request. You know what I mean? So it's like people don't get
Government,
it.
yeah.
Like fucking self-interest drives everything.
Right. And government regulation is directly fucking responsible for mega corporations.
Yeah.
Directly
without government, people don't understand. Without government, you wouldn't have fucking corporations. It's all
No, you
mercantile fucking
Yeah, they're
all
interconnected. They're intertied.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Look at-
all based
look
on
at-
maritime admiralty law because
Look at-
corporations
okay,
means
corporate-
like a
corporations-
dead body.
Corporations.
Like that's essentially what it
government.
is.
A perfect example of corporations and government intertwining. Go look at the connection between Monsanto and the federal government.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Well, there's a
Look at the
revolving
number-
door
Look
that
at the number of Monsanto executives that have become government positions, the number of government employees that have worked for Monsanto. It
Yeah.
is
And
literally a
number of
revolving door.
both, the number of
Obama
both that have
appointed one of
worked
the
as
executives.
lobbyists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Obama appointed one of the executives of Monsanto as a
The head-
head of the FDA.
The head of the FDA, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got
If
Trump
that
appointing
doesn't
one of the
raise
Goldman
red
Sachs.
flags,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got Trump appointing one of the Goldman Sachs boys as head of the Treasury. And it's
Right.
just a revolving door between all these fucking like corporate entities and fucking government because the United States government is essentially on the books. It's a fucking corporation.
Right.
It's owned by the
Right.
crown. The crown. What the fuck is it? Essentially, it was originally the East India, trading
Trading
corporation,
company.
but it became the crown. The Crown Corporation in fucking the city of London, which is the financial operating center for the globalist control of the fucking world, essentially. Like there's three branches. There's the Vatican, which is the religious center, the city of London, which is the fucking financial center in the United States, Washington, D.C., which is the military wing of the Vatican, whatever. And that's like the trinity of global control, and they're all separate, corporate city-states onto themselves that are separate from the countries that they're actually exist in.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know that.
Okay. 11,168 registered lobbyists spent $3.15 billion lobbying the government in 2016.
Yeah.
That is opensecrets.org.
I was talking to a friend of mine on Twitter about that the other day, about how the United States government's kind of like a hybrid between communism, socialism, and capitalism, because of the fact that
corporatism,
or not capitalism. Sorry, I should say fascism. The lobbyists pay the government, which is fascism, and then in return they give them not corporate subsidies, but taxpayer subsidies. Taxpayer money in the form of subsidies is corporate welfare, which is a form of socialism, and then you got a central bank, which is a form of communism. That's one of the 10 planks of communism. And the 10 planks of communism are well alive in the United States. If people don't understand, you can look that up, and that's all fucking on the books as laws.
Right.
But it's a weird twisted hybrid of cronyism, socialism, and communism alive and well in the United States, and people don't even realize that, and they just blame capitalism. It's like, oh well, capitalism's the fucking evil.
I tell people all the time that the people that truly run this country, you will never see their name on a ballot.
No, fuck no.
Nope.
They're the international bankers that own the fucking Federal Reserve and the IMF and the World Bank. That's who controls this country. That's who controls pretty much every country on the fucking face of the earth, unless the United States wants war with them, and that's who isn't controlled by the fucking banking elite.
the CFR and Bilderberg and
those are all
like on and on and on and on and
those are all tentacles of the international bankers, essentially, to keep global control over everything. You got the CFR, or the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the London Institute of International Affairs, which is like the British wing of that whole deal.
Yeah. And people, I don't know why people don't understand. It's so fucking obvious if you think about it for 30 seconds, because these institutions are so huge and they do so much and they control so much. Do you know how much effort goes into building something like that? You think they did it for your fucking good?
Yep.
For the little guy?
Yeah. Well, that's the problem.
no.
That's the problem there, Derek. Is you answered your own question, right? You use the word, you use the magic word.
Yeah.
That nobody ever does, right? It's that T word.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Think. These people don't think, they react. They have emotional responses to logical issues, logical questions all the time. They don't react to logically. They don't think. They have an emotional response to people challenging their preconceived notions.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
that's because they're operating in a low
toddler. It's like telling a toddler that Santa Claus isn't real.
Right.
This is true. That's a good analogy, because it's like these people are operating at a low vibrational frequency in terms of their understanding of things. Because it's like you try and extrapolate that it goes far beyond just Republicans and Democrats, and just because you're a Democrat, Republicans aren't your enemy. Just because you're a Republican, Democrats aren't your enemy. It goes way fucking higher than that. And then CFR and all that is just another layer above. But it's like, if you really want to get down to the meat and potatoes of the fucking, situation, you're looking at international globalist bankers that have been funding every side of every war since the Battle of fucking Waterloo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When the Rothschilds essentially took control of the Bank of England.
Soros.
And you know what's interesting?
Yeah, and Soros is one of their minions, essentially. You know what I mean? To wreak havoc in terms of their means to an end for globalism, for global control. You know what I mean? And that's gonna fail, because even if they do have one throne for the whole entire fucking world, what if shit goes belly up? You know what I mean? Then you have no way to fucking quarantine the problem.
Yep.
It's going to go global.
Right. And what
they don't realize
really
that.
Interesting is, do you guys ever read those lists, like on the internet or in Forbes maybe, of the wealthiest people in the world? You ever read those?
Oh, yeah, and they don't list the people that are really the wealthiest.
Exactly. Nope. That's what I was just going to say.
Like the Rothschilds, the Warburgs, the Schiffs.
On those lists.
No, you never see the name on, you see the Waltons.
You don't see their name on a list. You won't see their name on a ballot.
Get the fuck out of here.
They keep themselves very far away from
you see the Waltons, and you're like, oh, the Waltons have so much money. And you're like, no, realistically, they don't. The Waltons own Walmart. Woo!
Yeah.
The Rothschilds own the fucking world.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. I know.
With the exception of maybe like 3 or 4 countries.
But
that's about it.
They keep themselves very far from public view, and they do it for a reason.
Yeah, they own, like Dan just said, they own the world except 3 or 4 countries, but they own the person that owns that country.
Right.
Yeah, that is true.
And they own the militaries that are invading those countries.
They own the people that provide for the militaries of those countries too.
Right. Yeah.
If anyone was ever going to die from the flu, give it to the Rockefellers. Just saying.
Yeah.
I bet they don't get flu shots.
Nope.
Nah, dude. Well, if they do, they get their own clean immunizations without any shit being fucking created baby or human fetal tissue or whatever the fuck they use for us.
Shh, quiet, man. You're thinking
crazy,
too much.
dude.
You're thinking too much. Go drink your mercury.
Yeah, seriously.
Go calcify that gland, buddy.
That's what I get for fucking having the water treatment fucking company take the fluoride out of the fucking water here.
Right.
I battled those fuckers too, man.
Can you have that one?
No, I'm
paying for it now.
Somebody's getting impatient for us to finish out.
We're 2 hours in anyway, so
yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
he wants to say hi again.
Okay,
you want to say hi to the whole internet?
Declan, say hi to the whole internet.
What's up, Declan?
Say hi to the internet, baby.
Hi.
What's up, bud?
What's up, Declan?
Good.
What's on your shirt?
It's a alien head.
It's an alien head. It
An
says,
alien-
I don't believe in humans.
I don't believe in them either.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I don't believe in them either.
Yeah.
On that note,
Yeah.
all right, Declan, wave bye to the internet.
Say bye-bye.
Bye.